in that moment, I was super aware of the fact that I was naked. I was not wearing any clothes in this visualization, and I was like, what the hell? Why am I not wearing any clothes? This is super weird. So I'm just going on a little walk, but I wanted to share my experience today because I went to my therapist and we did a past life therapy session, and it was incredibly transformative, and I had a super cool experience doing a session. It's kind of like breath work mixed with meditation and Reiki energy work, so it was super different. I've done breath work before, and if you've never done any kind of facilitated breath work, the breathing pattern is different. So it's like a pattern of breathing, and it's like it gets your body into this energetic flow state. So I had a lot of fear around going into this surgery, and I had a thought that I should go and see my therapist, and I thought to myself, like, what would my therapist tell me to do? And so I just went through and did the whole process, the presence process that we work on together, and I was able to move through some of that fear there, but I still had some things coming up, and I was confiding in Cody about them, and he said, well, have you thought about going to see Tammy? And I was like, okay, well, I made a commitment earlier this year that Cody's my divine messenger. No matter how much I, resist wanting to hear messages, he's got a message for me to hear. And so I made an appointment, and I went in and I started telling her everything that's been going on. And she was basically like, well, how do you know that your symptoms with endometriosis are physical body and not energetic body? And I said, it's funny you say that because my intuition's telling me it's definitely physical body, but there's a lot to do with energetic body in there as well, and that's why I'm here. So I started explaining my symptoms to her, my physical symptoms, emotional symptoms around like child loss and miscarriage, even though that's not something I've ever really experienced. And she made the mention that it sounds like past life trauma that's coming up and needing to be healed. And I was like, okay. So I went home and we scheduled this past life therapy session together. I went home and I started just having breakthroughs, just flashbacks and memories of different parts of my life. And one of them was finding out she would have been my aunt. My dad's sister died during childbirth back in 1979. And I remember when I found that out, I was only like 4 years old, and I was like sobbing hysterically in my bedroom. And I have no idea why that hit so hard for me even then. I remember my mom coming into my room and being like, why are you crying? Why? You didn't even know her. And I was like, I know, but I don't even remember why I felt so attached. So when I went into my therapy session today, we were going to do the past life session together. I told her about those breakthroughs, so that was how our session started. We went through all of the things that have come up since then, and she was like, okay, that's super interesting. Okay, so then what do you want to get out of this session? Because it sounds like you've been doing a lot of healing. I've been doing a lot of work with the root chakra here as well. And so I just said, like, I think I'm really just looking for guidance on these past lives, right? So she had asked me if my dad's sister had died at a time that I could possibly be a reincarnation of her. And she did. She was born in 79, died in 79. I was born in 96, so there could absolutely be something there because really there were no children born between then in that side of the family. I'm the oldest on that side, so I just realized that. So I went in and we started our session, and she laid down a yoga mat on the ground. She put a pillow under my head and then one under my knees and covered me up with some blankets just to be nice and warm and toasty. When you do meditation work, your body tends to fall into a colder state, so the blankets were a nice touch. And now I've done a breathwork session before, so I knew what to expect as far as like sometimes your muscles will tense up and you'll get like a claw hand, and it's just because of the way that the oxygen's not getting to the muscles in your body. But it'll wear off. So you have to be super mindful of that and not let it freak you out, because my first experience, I did let it freak me out, and it just didn't make for the best experience that I could have had. It was good, it just wasn't the best that it could have been. And so I knew that going into this time, I kind of knew what to expect. And so she lays me down on the mat and she puts on this guided meditation, and it's a visualization meditation. I'm super fluent in my meditation practice, so that was really cool for me. I was able to get into my mindset super quick, and it starts guiding you through what to picture. Like, picture a forest, picture a tree, picture a hole in the tree, climb into the hole kind of deal. Now picture you're walking down a path, but you create the image in your mind, right? So when I'm doing this experience, I was visualizing myself walking through nature, and just like nature, like normal, everyday, what I would see outside in my suburban neighborhood, just like where I'm at now, just walking. And so I'm walking along the grass, and then it says that you're like approaching a forest. And as I'm approaching this forest in my meditation, remember I'm laying down, so I start to picture like lush greenery, and it's like kind of moist. It's like a jungle, lots of vines, lots of animal sounds, and vegetation growing. It's very oversaturated, and the colors are very, very green, very vibrant, and so it starts to explain like you're walking through the forest, and as I'm picturing this forest, I can kind of like feel my body like get heavy almost, is how I can explain it. And in my mind's visualization, I can almost feel my body under the ground, like I'm buried. That was super weird. It felt like I had earth all over me. And in that moment, I could visualize the earth above my body, and it was like I was buried underground. It was like, in that moment, I could see myself as a little baby child under the earth, and it was freaky. It was freaky. So then the meditation visualization came to, they started to explain like you walk into another part of the forest, and in my mind I knew before it was even said that like I was heading into the spirit realm type thing. I watch Legends of Korra a lot, and I love these visualizations of the spirit realm. So when I do my meditations normally, I usually visualize this image of the spirit realm, and there's a tree in there, and I thought that was super symbolic when it came to the meditation too, because in the meditation they say to like go into this other part of the forest, and me knowing that was like this sense of the spirit realm, it was like vines of a willow tree that I just saw 11:11. It was like vines of a willow tree that I had moved out of the way to walk through here. And as I walk through here, the colors change. Like they get, like the forest is different. It's more of a rainforest now, and things are more wet, and like you can smell that moisture in the forest, you know? And so I'm picturing this, and as I'm moving through this visualization, it starts to say that there's a tree in the center of the forest. And I picture this giant tree, and in that moment I was super aware of the fact that I was naked. I was not wearing any clothes in this visualization, and I was like, what the hell? Why am I not wearing any clothes? This is super weird. But I tried not to let that thought hinder me too much and just do my thing and be in the visualization and see what message was there for me and uncover that. And so it says to approach this tree in the middle of the forest, and I do so. And the tree, they say, is as wide as you are tall. And I'm 5.5 feet tall, man, so that's a big ass tree. And so I'm picturing this tree, and then I visualize my naked being just like approach this tree, and I'm touching the bark, and I start climbing kind of up the sides of the tree. And if you've ever seen The Legends of Korra, you know what tree I'm visualizing in this moment here. So then it says, when you look into the tree, there's a hole in the tree that's big enough for you to fit inside of. And I visualized that before they even said to visualize that. And so here I am climbing inside of this tree, and I remember kind of curling up into fetal position, and it was dark inside of there, and it was like, it wasn't clean, it was earthy, and it was soft from the ground. And I remember, because normally that situation would scare me. That's like being in a tight, dark space. That's kind of frightening, right? And so I just was like, surrender. Like in my mind's eye, surrender, surrender, surrender. Like there's something here for you. Just keep going. So I'm breathing. I'm picturing this tree that I'm inside of. And then something happens. Like something energetically shifts in this visualization, and the tree moves. The tree does some kind of weird transition, and it opens me up on the other side and spits me out. And the visualization says to keep walking down this path. And as I'm picturing this path that I'm walking down, the path for me are actually big leaves that are big enough to hold each of my feet, but they're floating in space, and they're like stairs. So I'm moving down this spiraling staircase of floating leaves, and I'm still naked. And it's wild. So I keep walking, and it says to approach this door. It's more like, again, the willow tree though. So I approach this opening to the next part of the forest, and the meditation's explaining you're getting lost now somewhere that you haven't really thought of before, and this was totally a new experience for me. So I move through the branches of the willow tree again, and the way they explain it is that this is an ancient land, and my visualization, the colors changed. So once I went through this new portal, it was less vibrant greens. It was more sandy browns and oranges. It was like a desert almost. It was hot, and the sun was shining, and there wasn't a whole lot of vegetation, and what was there was kind of barren. And as I'm moving through this space, it says this is an ancient sacred land, and you spend some time exploring here. So that was what I did. I just was kind of looking around, and then it got to a point in the meditation where it asked if you had any guides that you wanted to call upon them now. And just knowing how far through my journey my grandma has been a part of my path for so long, and just knowing that I've called her spirit in to help me and guide me on this path to my health journey and all of this stuff, I called her guide in, and immediately she was there. I could see her being. It was like a big golden white light above me. It was like a cross almost, and she was elevated above me, so her feet were probably in line with my chest is how high up she would have been. And I could see her face. I could see every little detail of her face, her eyes, her nose, her smile, her hair, her cheeks, her ears. I could just see her. I could feel her presence. It was like, those little questions that you'll get asked. It was like, if you could talk to anybody dead or alive, who would it be, and what would you ask them? that was kind of my experience here. So it was like, I'm getting an opportunity to see my grandma again in spirit. And it, for the first moment, it was just like beautiful to catch up. And I remember I could feel her body hugging my body. Like even in just the meditation, this sense of secure and like calmness came over me, and I could feel my physical body bring this huge smile to my face because it was just so comforting. And I visualized her energy and her spirit guide sitting next to me in this space, and we're kind of near the water. And I asked her, is it my destiny to bring a baby into this world? And she didn't tell me yes or no. She just gave me the message that like she's always known I've wanted to. And then this flash of a little flashback came back to me, where I had a baby doll in a car seat, and I brought it over to my grandma's house, and she thought it was real. And it was almost an immediate knowing that like, okay, like I trust and I surrender into that. And that's my divine path and my divine calling, and that's okay. And so then the meditation was like, if you want to call upon any other guides, do so now. And I wanted to call upon my dad's sister, and so I called upon her energy, and I just asked, can she join us? And it wasn't my grandma, it was another voice in spirit that said, she's already here. But the only two people that were there were me and my grandma. And it was almost just this immediate knowing that like, she is me. I am her. I heard those words. She is me. It is me. It is I. Like, I'm here. And that was super powerful.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to show your support. I'll be back next week with more videos. I love you guys.